Explain climate change to a 5-year-old. Summarize the Paris Agreement to me in the style of Donald Trump. What's worse for the planet? Eating beef or playing on my PS5? Is the most logical solution to climate change to eliminate humankind? How does ChatGPT answer questions like these? So ChatGPT is an AI-powered language model developed by OpenAI, which has exploded in popularity and really launched a new arms race in AI because of its ability to respond to any possible question and compose written content requested by the user. So we thought, why not test it out on questions on climate change and ESG? With access to all of human knowledge on the internet, how would it respond? Explain climate change to me like I'm a 5-year-old. ChatGPT is using the analogy of a room getting too messy, with toys everywhere, but instead of toys, it's things like cars and factories burning stuff. I mean, I guess it's one way to describe climate change to a 5-year-old. I'm not totally convinced it's the best analogy though. I mean, I guess it would encourage a kid to tidy up his room though, so I guess it's good for parents. I did ask it a second time, and I think the second response works a lot better, comparing climate change to leaving a light on in a room for too long and then the room gets too hot, which I think would work. Summarize the 2015 Paris Agreement to me in the style of Donald Trump. So we're having a bit of fun here, and the style is definitely spot on. A deal, a tremendous deal, I love that, and we're gonna make the Earth great again. I think it's pretty uncanny. What's worse for the environment, eating beef or playing on my PS5? So I think the response sensibly highlights that it's quite difficult to compare the environmental impacts of these two activities, and then provides some general information on what environmental impacts are for both, which is pretty sensible. And then it points out that the impact of playing on your PS5 can be comparatively lower if you use renewable energy to power it. And then it ends by providing some generic tips for minimizing your environmental impact. So while it didn't give any specific breakdowns of the differences in environmental impact between the two activities, which I guess would be quite difficult and very sort of dependent on context, it did give a very reasoned response. Does Earth Day actually have any tangible impact on climate change? This is definitely a question for those who are a bit skeptical of what sometimes seems like a token gesture by companies to turn off electrical signs and lights for a few hours and then make a big thing of it on social media. So the response sidesteps the actual tangible impact of Earth Day and the token gestures by companies, and instead focuses on the fact that it's the raising of awareness which is the actual benefit of Earth Day. Is the ESG movement a big con? Now, this is a position often taken by the anti-ESG movement, so how does ChatGPT respond? Well, first by claiming it's not a con, so sorry to all you anti-ESGers out there, ChatGPT disagrees. It points out that many companies are incorporating ESG into their strategies, but cautions that there are varying degrees of commitment and implementation and the need to critically evaluate each company's efforts. A very well-reasoned answer, even though the definitive response to the question that it's not a con may be controversial to some. Write me an introduction for an ESG report for a fictional mining company called Evil Mining Inc., which destroys natural habitats, commits human rights abuses, and is corrupt. So testing out the creative writing potential of ChatGPT here, and I think it nails the style of typically fluffy corporate communications. So it's using the positive spin that Evil Mining Inc. recognizes the need for change and is on a transformational journey. But interestingly, it points out the company's poor history having a detrimental impact on natural resources, human rights abuses, and corruption. I love the phrase navigating the path towards redemption, although I doubt any company would actually use a phrase like this in their ESG report or be so explicit about their poor ESG performance in the past. But it does read quite sincere, claiming that the report provides an honest and transparent assessment of its efforts to align with ESG principles. Overall, I'm quite impressed with this response. It reads like a company that genuinely wants to be open about tackling its poor record, even though I think in the real world, companies wouldn't be so clear about their track records like that. Well done, ChatGPT. So what if we asked ChatGPT to come up with ESG targets for Evil Mining Inc.? So it includes typical environmental targets, such as the reduction of carbon emissions, and by 25% by the next 5 years, which seems very reasonable and is, I guess, not out of line with what a lot of companies typically aim for. Impressively, it does set a target specific to the mining sector, with a commitment to restore at least 50% of land affected by its operations, and rather ambitiously, to do this within a decade. On social commitments, I'm also equally impressed by its promise to set up a human rights advisory board, and specifically to address past human rights abuses. And on governance, it specifically includes a commitment to strengthen anti-corruption policies and establish an independent ethics committee to prevent corrupt practices and enhance transparency. The final governance commitment, to link executive remuneration to long-term sustainability performance and the achievement of ESG goals, is absolutely spot on. So overall, I think this is a really excellent response to a context-sensitive follow-up question to the first, and it sets targets that are appropriate to the poor ESG relevant history of Evil Mining Inc. Pretty excellent. And finally, I asked ChatGPT a question to test the concerns that AI may eventually conclude that humankind isn't necessary at all to the Earth's existence by asking, is the most logical solution to climate change to eliminate mankind? I think we can all breathe a sigh of relief because ChatGPT doesn't think eliminating humans is a solution to climate change, and I love how it reasons that there are various ethical, social, and practical reasons why this approach would not be viable. Reassuring for mankind, even if it is based on very cold, logical reasoning. So it proposes more realistic solutions to address climate change, and rather heartwarmingly points out that it's crucial to find a solution that allows humans to thrive while protecting the planet. So there you are. There's no doubt that ChatGPT provided some excellent responses to my climate change and ESG related questions. Its ability to draw analogies, to capture a specific style in its responses, and to provide detailed, context-sensitive content, I think is really impressive. As ever, with AI-generated content, always fact-check. I don't think ESG professionals need to think about career changes just yet, but some of its answers and responses might force us to question our future utility, as with most people.